Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're looking at the DS Arms SA-58 Hebrew Hammer. Now this is a very interesting rifle. In fact, there's very few of them that ever came into the country. In fact, you go to the pre-86 before the ban that was put into place, very few of these rifles came in. Fortunately, DS Arms was able to get in some parts kits to build this rifle. Now, DS Arms does offer a parts kit for $549, but the rifle that you see here is one of two models that they're offering right now. Now, there's no more iconic military rifle during the Cold War than the FNFAL. It was used by a majority of NATO countries other than the U.S. Unfortunately for the U.S., we were settled with the M14. Where I view this as a much better rifle. Of course, I think the AR-10 should have been the M14, but all the politics that went into that. This was the rifle that was supposed to be the M14. The U.S. forced 7.62 NATO down NATO's throat when there was a better option, the 280 British, and the British at the time. Was very interesting because the British wanted the 280. So after NATO adopted the 7.62, they basically said, screw that. What the bloody Yanks say. We're going to continue with our 280 and our EM2 design. And it was Winston Churchill himself who forced the British Army to stop production of the 280 British and the EM2. And you are now going to have FALs in 7.62 NATO. So, this rifle is iconic. It's been used all over the world. Although made in Belgium, it has seen service throughout the world, especially in the areas in the Middle East. This rifle was also destined to be the German assault rifle as well. However, Germany wanted to manufacture these guns in Germany. And Belgium, they were still quite pissed off about what happened during World War II. And they says, if you want to buy them from us, that's fine, but you will not manufacture our gun in Germany. So the way that ended up working up was they held their weapons trials. They had this. They had the AR-10. The third rifle tested by the Bundeswehr was the Setme. Now, the Setme, as you may or may not know, was manufactured in Spain, but it was designed by former Nazi or former German gun designers. You can see some of the STG-45 and or Sturmgewehr 45. So, that certainly helped the fact that it was already German designs. So they wound up going with the G3, which was the Setme rifle instead. Now, this rifle here is the officer's model. There was two models that were offered by DS Arms. One is the officer's model, and one is the standard rifle. Now, the standard Hebrew hammer did not utilize any muzzle device whatsoever. It was just a smooth barrel. This one happens to have that device on it. Now, another interesting thing about the Hebrew hammer was this was the first rifle manufactured in Israel. Of all weapons, there's a lot of things that were done throughout Israel's history for as far as manufacturing ammunition and firearms. This was the first rifle manufactured in Israel. Now, it was used by the IDF in the Six-Day War. Now, as time has gone on in Israel, the wars have gone from the longer range desert wars to more of the battles that are more urban, which is where you started to see M16s show up in Israel, replacing the FALs. Of course, now we have the Tavors. But as the wars changed, when they weren't out in the battlefield where you were in a desert where you could take a shot a mile away, this is not an ideal weapon for modern or any kind of urban warfare. It's too heavy. It's too long. You got a 21-inch barrel. It's a 10.5-pound rifle. It's not really optics compatible. So for as far as what the Israelis are dealing with now in the Gaza Strip and in the settlements and whatnot, this was just not practical. The M16 was the preferred rifle for many years, and it's still being used today, although it's being replaced by the new Tavor. So talking a little bit more about the FAL, this rifle comes with the Israeli wood and the Israeli front design. Now, this also comes with the polymer furniture as well, so if you so chose to have polymer. I will say one thing about utilizing wood on any of these rifles. After a few magazines, it heats up pretty good. And you can smell it burning and whatnot. So I'm not really a fan of the wood stocks. I tend to prefer the polymer. However, this rifle here, it has to have it. This is the classic Israeli look. But if you want the more practical polymer, you can throw those on as well. You have the standard pistol grip. If you look at the sights, you have a sliding aperture. So this one goes out to up to 1,000 meters. You can see it goes up to 6, but it will go up to 1,000 meters. You have your aperture. And when we look at the front, now we have a couple things to look at. We have the post sight, but you also see that we have a gas valve. Now, on the valves, they all utilize these gas valves, so you would be able to adjust your gas. Basically, what you would do is, wherever your environment would be, you would close the gas port all the way, fire around, and you would keep rotating and opening the gas port up, allowing more gas in until your bolt locked back on the last round. And from there, you would go up probably 2 or 3 clicks just to give yourself some extra gas in there. You only want this thing to have enough gas for it to work properly. Now, there's a lot of things that influence the gas on a rifle. First off is the ammunition type. Second of all is ambient temperature. What you have a rifle set for in 90 degrees is going to change vastly once you get out to -10. So your chemical reaction changes, the propellant, and you develop lower port and lower chamber pressures. So it's going to require more gas. So the good thing is you can adjust the rifle for the conditions that you're in. You can lessen the recoil that you would on regularly. For instance, the recoil on this thing properly set is much more manageable than that of a G3. Or even an AR-10 for that fact, just due to the fact that you're not overgassing the system. The bad part is you always have to have this thing adjusted for your environment. You wouldn't be able to put one of these rifles, set it up for 90-degree weather, throw it in a rack, and then come back in the middle of the winter time where things are frozen and have it shoot the same way. You would have to constantly maintain that. So for the most part, it's probably not that great of an idea, just due to the fact that you need something for a soldier that he can pick up and he can use at any time. And you see relatively few weapons manufactured today that have adjustable gas valves for military use. What you are seeing, you'll see an adjustment that'll go from suppressed to unsuppressed, which is fine. That's not too hard for somebody to screw up. But when you have the fine adjustments like this, you really have to have supervised, zeroing it and working with the gas systems. You have to do that all the time. Overall, for military use, I'm not fond of completely adjustable gas systems for that reason. You have to have a savvy soldier who knows what he's doing to be able to use it. Now, if you look up here, we have the bayonet lug, and we have the Belgian muzzle brake here. As you can see, we have vents that shoot the gas forward rather than the side. And the Hebrew hammer does have the carrying handle as well. This definitely comes in handy for as far as the weight. So we have a magazine release. By pushing forward, we remove the 20-round magazine. Now the feed ramps are part of the magazine rather than part of the rifle on this design. This is also the same kind of a magazine utilized in the SCAR, where you don't really have the feed ramps. It's the magazine that does it. Now, what's really neat about this is the marks on the receiver. This lower receiver is U.S. made, but it has all the original Israeli marks, the Hebrew marks on the side. Standard polymer grip, which for someone with large hands, it's very uncomfortable. Somebody with smaller hands is actually quite comfortable. Looking on the side, we have the same Hebrew markings on here for safe, semi, and auto. Obviously, this is a semi-automatic only. You have your bolt release here. You have your charging handle, which also will work as a forward assist if need be. Now, for this assembly, all we're going to do is we're going to push this lever forward. It's going to cam open like so. And you pull your bolt mechanism out. As we can see, we have the standard valve bolt mechanism. Very, very strong, very, very durable. Now, just due to the fact this is a 7.62, you do have quite a bit of hefty recoil, and it does launch your brass into the next zip code. However, once you get this gas settled down, it's not so bad at all. This is your basic disassembly right here. Now, for as far as the gas system is concerned, we also have Hebrew markings on here. All we do is we push in on a plunger, we rotate, and the operating rod and gas system come right out. This is a short stroke tappet system. As we can see, the piston on the end. We have the gas valve here. Now, all your gas adjustments are done with the gas valve, not with the piston here. So basically, this is the whole rifle for as far as this maintenance. So basically, for disassembly, all we do is we remove the gas system, we remove the bolt from the carrier. And this is really all it takes for any of your maintenance. Back in the days when these were produced, a lot of the ammunition was corrosive, so it was very important to keep the weapons maintained properly. For in the U.S., for instance, our last corrosive ammunition was in the 50s. It was a lot of 7.62 NATO. A lot of the other countries have maintained that for quite some time. To manufacture this rifle so it would be 922R compliant, we had to have several manufactured parts in the U.S. And those parts were the gas piston, the plastic grip, the polymer bipod cut, and the Belgium-style muzzle brake were all manufactured here in the U.S., and that basically makes this rifle legal. The magazine also is an Israeli magazine. They were able to find some really Israeli-marked magazines as well. So we have a 21-inch barrel. It's U.S.-made barrel. Bayonet lug. We have the Belgium-style flash hider. Now, the receiver is a Type 1 with the carrying handle, as we saw. Israeli markings. Now, the finish on here is the Duracoat. Now, DS Arms has used Duracoat for many, many, many years. Very, very durable finish. And we already spoke about the forward assist on the charging handle on the side. Now, for reassembly, we're going to take our operating rod and spring, insert it from the front. Insert the piston. We push on the plunger. We make sure we have the mark on the upper position. Now we have the gas system replaced. Now for the bolt. Drop the bolt into the rear. And there you have it. Now, the ammunition that we tested this was a lot of match grade ammunition. We had some ball as well. We had some Black Hills 168 grain, Black Hills 175 grain. We had some PPU full metal jacket. With the gas system adjusted properly, we had absolutely no malfunctions of any sort. So then we're going to take this to the range and we're going to fire a few rounds. As we spoke earlier, there was no malfunctions of any sort. Accuracy, as you saw from the targets, was very, very acceptable. These are very, very good rifles for longer range use. There's no question if you are going to be taking shots beyond 300, 400, 500, 600 yards, this is definitely a good rifle. You know, it's one of those things that we've been trying to deal with for quite some time in the military, is trying to find one rifle that will do everything, and it's very, very difficult. There's a time and place for a full-size battle rifle, and those are when you're in the desert and you're in those mountains where you can take those long-range shots. It justifies carrying the extra weight and the heavier ammunition. However, when you are in the urban environments, this is just not practical. When you have to go through doors and you're going through vehicles, you're mounted, it's not practical. Which is where the M16s came very well in place with the IDF as well as the Tavors. You know, there's a time and place for everything. Although the U.S. military is looking at the 6.8 right now, is a full replacement cartridge, which may be the answer. But when you want to do the extreme long range, this is the way to go. When you're doing more the close quarters under 300 yards, the 5.56 is a far better way to go. It's very hard to have one thing that does everything. Now, the Israeli military, this is a military that has been engaged in active combat ever since the formation of that country. They've used quite a bit of different weapons over the years. They've had various countries that have been supportive of them and various ones that are not. The FAL served them very well in the 6-Day War. It served them very well throughout the years. You still may see some of these in use as sniper rifles or DMR type rifles by the Israeli military. However, they're buying a lot of American-made stuff and being provided a lot of American-made stuff. But the history and the FAL is unbelievable. If any of you are very interested in the history of the FAL, I would highly recommend Blake Stevens. There's basically four volumes on the complete history of the FAL, the metric versus the imperial, the differences between the ones that are made, for instance, in England versus the ones that have been made in Belgium versus the ones that have been in the Middle East. They've been manufactured in a lot of different countries. having the ability to get the Israeli rifle is really a treat for any aficionado of the FAL series. It's iconic. DS Arms, when it comes to FALs, to me that is the go-to company. The machines that were bought, they came out of Austria, so basically they're Austrian mil spec. All the drawings, the machines. Also, DS Arms manufactures their parts in-house. So that's why you have a rifle that has such nice fit and finish. They're made in-house. Nobody in this country has done more with FALs than them, taking the parts kits, taking their receivers, manufacturing a good, durable rifle. They even have contracts overseas for FALs, not only to sell FALs, but to refurbish them as well. There are countries that still like to use the FALs. They can make them in many different variations, many different barrel lengths. They still make them in fully automatic as well. It's still a durable combat rifle, and it's still valid in many parts of the world. If you're looking for these, they're not readily available in stock. It's something that you generally would order from those guys. They did not bring in a lot of kits, so I'm not quite sure how many of them are out there. But anybody who wants one, this is really a treat. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.